and it's all about the NADCO report and a lot of other issues as well. We have with us Honorable Peter Kaluma, who is a member of Parliament, Homa Bay Town, John Newton, Senator Muranga, and Richard Onyonka, Senator Kisii. Hearty welcome to all of you. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. And I know Peter Kaluma is just straight from Parliament this evening, a very heated debate as well on Safaricom. Maybe you can just give us an inkling of what was happening this evening.
Yeah, we were debating the proposed sale of 15%
yes.
of government shares in Safaricom. This is a process which has been going on very long. I'm a member of the Finance Committee. My friends here will tell you that under Article 118 of the Constitution,
yes,
everything Parliament does must go through public participation. So we started public participation over that proposed sale of shares. I was leading the team which was in Mandera, Wajir, Tana River, Marsabit, Vihiga, Kakamega, Kisii, and then we finished in Homa Bay. The other team members went across the country. And so one of the things they were proposing is that we cannot propose sale of these shares to create an infrastructure fund without a law that establishes the fund, provides for the criterion for identification of projects which will be implemented in the fund, and institutes a proper structure for its management. And it is out of that public participation, you must have seen, that the National Infrastructure Fund bill was proposed and passed. And so it was assented to by the President the other day. Now, it having been passed, with the other positive, and support and comments coming from Kenyans. Today it was on the order paper, and I can tell you we are on with the motion. The report of the joint committees having been tabled, and that is what was being debated. I'm coming late, and I want to thank you for allowing me to arrive late so that I catch this debate. But you must have noted that on Wednesdays we usually end our day.
Yes.
We usually adjourn at 9 p.m. People do not know how hard we work. Today we adjourned a bit early because there was a procedural motion moved before.
Yes.
Which was to the effect that when a sessional paper is being debated like this one, it should go on for at least for a maximum of 2 hours and 30 minutes. And so by the time we were adjourning, we were creating room for an extension of that time by way of a different resolution tomorrow, so that more members, as many members as possible, can have their thoughts and share their perspectives over the matter. So that is why quorum was raised, so that we can see if we can bring another procedural motion. Onyonka will tell you to extend time beyond the limitation we had capped at 2.5 hours, so that there may be more debate. And because this is an important matter, we want as many MPs as possible sharing on what Kenyans told us across the country. Actually, we went to a minimum of 30 counties across. We see how we proceed about it. But I can tell you, so far so good. The views which we collected from Kenyans generally were that sell on condition that the integrity issues around the sale are addressed so that we don't lose the money like the other sales of government assets before. Sell, but there need to be a law. The law has been enacted. But we want this money ring-fenced for infrastructure, especially in regions which have been marginalized and discriminated over the years. So that is what we are implementing, taking into account the safeguards. And I think it will be positive. As a person presiding, I may not say how it will go, but I liked the debate from each side of the House in terms of how to improve it, the conditions to impose if the sale were to go, and those others saying don't sell. Very, very fertile arguments, and I hope Kenyans are following. All right.
Senator Onyonka, aren't you really amazed by how this particular bill has been steamrolled, expedited very quickly? I've never seen a bill that has gone through, the entire 3 stages and getting the ascension of the president, or the assenting of the president, like this particular bill.
Dibal, personally, I'm actually against the sale of national resources or national institutions, particularly those that make profit.
Yeah.
Number two, if you look at our republic and our history, that history is full of wakes of events where the government has come up with projects which the government is pushing and which the government wants to be done. And Dibal, one of the very interesting things about the current government of President William Ruto and the government that my brother now is working with is that we fear that every single endeavor they want to bring, whether good or bad, because of the history, it just leaves a lot of stench in the wake. And I'll explain to you. The government comes with a fantastic program of controlling our road accidents on the highways. We have what is called the National Transport Safety Authority, which is a government outfit. And all of a sudden you find that you are being told there's a PPP thing which brought in private investors who have then come. And in fact, this money which is supposed to be collected by government officers, and the money then is directly to the consolidated account at the central bank, you find the money will be going to a private company that is running that outfit. Our fear, and these are the issues we've been raising, and we tell our brothers, we are not crazies. Why would you want to sell critical infrastructure, both for military and civilian use? A very, very critical piece of infrastructure, which fortunately, the governments we've had before are in fact governments that have been good enough, let me use that term, because to me they should never have sold more than 50%. But there were issues about creating the infrastructure, setting up the masts, which took a lot of money, so they had to recoup their money. We understood that. But my argument is that, one, this whole process of how Safaricom is supposed to be sold is dogged with very many questions. First, as to how it's being done. Number two, yes, my brother has said there were people saying sell but ring fence. We are saying, yes, there are also people who say don't sell. The reason for that is, number one priority is that in fact, the law that they are passing should insist that people who should buy this are Kenyans. First, we have NSSF, we have now SHA, all those institutions have money. They can actually buy Safaricom shares. But if you allow an external entity to come and buy Safaricom, it means exactly like you saw Sifuna say the other day, and I'm not saying that for political gain, that the team that we went to Kakamega believed that it was easy for people in KAA to provide information to government operatives so that then we could be stopped from going to Kakamega.
Yes.
This is a very simple thing, but it talks about our security infrastructure. So what we are saying, these are sensitive issues, Honorable Kaluma. We do not object to the sale, number one. If that is what the president wants, I do not know that in his manifesto he had said he was going to sell Safaricom, and presumably my colleagues in the National Assembly will interrogate the matter and at the Senate and make sure that if that sale must take place, then we get the best deal. But what are you hearing? That there's a company which is external based. In fact, they even say a lot of things about what that company was doing. And as a result, the company MTN is supposed to buy shares, or one of those companies from southern part of Africa. And in fact, there are people who have bought shares, which is supposed to be 10% of what this value of the Safaricom shares is, which is supposed to be a kickback that is going to some individuals who are selling this outfit. And these are the stories you hear over and over and over. You see the government trying to do something. Look at the e-payment financial platform. It's a fantastic idea. Collect all your money using a platform which is verifiable, secure. Collect that money, take it to the consolidated fund. But then what do you get? The money is going somewhere else. And then you have the Auditor General who's raising these issues about the queries on the money which is being lost, money which is being misappropriated. And for me, then people begin to lose faith in the system that we are using in a country called Kenya. So my argument is, and we always tell our brothers, we are not saying the government, for example, cannot build an airport. We would be crazy. I've been there, you see that airport, it really makes you think way back. We agree. But borrow the money. Tell us. We have institutions that will look whether the deal you are getting is value for money. So that whatever you want to do, we also have international practice.
Thank you.
There are people, there are countries like Rwanda, which has negotiated a deal like that. What did Rwanda get? Why are we getting less value than what the Rwandese government or Ethiopia, what they have got? Those are the issues that make Kenyans worry. And the issue of selling state corporations, finally, Dibal, we sell the ones making a profit. I thought you want to sell something that doesn't make a profit.
You did? Yeah.
I thought that's what I was taught from when I was very young. If you are running your korosho and you find it's not making money, you don't sell the chickens which are laying the egg. So to us, we see the same thing, the same government story, the same wastage of funds, the opacity in the procurement system, and many, many things. Look at bombers. I mean, everything. Finally, you're talking about the issue the money is going to infrastructure. You saw what the Auditor General said and the controller budget. Historically, funds which are collected from the for the national government went through KRA and then other lines of collecting the revenues, and those revenues went to the consolidated fund. And as you start drawing on those funds, all right, there are people who would look at the policy, which are the places you want to spend the money. Even when my brother says that we are trying to solve some of these historical injustices, what we are saying is this: I am shuddering in my veins to think that we have actually decided that we are going to get 4 to 5 trillion shillings. And yet when you look at the money that we have had, which is the equivalent amount plus the debts that we have, I don't even think that we are going to be able to actually pay these debts.
Thank you. Thank you. Just hang on because we have to rope in Senator Nyutu as well. I think you're sorted right now. Good to see you. And I just also want you to chime in so that we don't really spend time on this Safaricom issue, knowing that also we have Tony Gashoka and Professor Fred Ogola, who have moved to the courts to challenge also the sale of this particular, Safaricom, the corporation itself, saying that also the propriety, the process propriety was not really followed through, and why are we selling it for a song as well? How do you think this will really pan out with this particular National Infrastructure Act now in place, and we have legal challenges ahead with another corporation that is slated for sale?
Thank you, Dibal, and I think the Senator of Kisii has almost exhausted all that there was to be said about this particular sale. But allow me to say that where I come from, and I have a problem with the sale of these Safaricom shares.
Yes.
Probably because of where I come from. Where I come from, we believe that you are not supposed to sell ancestral land. That the only land that you are supposed to sell is land that maybe you were able to buy, and because that is your property. We believe in perpetuity. I mean, if my father did not sell that parcel of land and he had needs, then why would I sell the same parcel of land instead of, seeing what I can do to meet whatever needs that I have so that I can be able to bequeath the same to my children? So we are very sensitive about ancestral land. And I think I view this particular sale in that manner, adding to what Senator Onyonka has said, that, this is, the chicken that lays the golden egg.
Yes.
Why do you want to sell it? For things that have been done. We have been able to develop infrastructure since time immemorial. I mean, what do we do? I mean, these are shares that earns dividends to government. Why do you want to terminate this particular, revenue stream, which has, we can rely on it. I mean, in future we'll be able to get, these streams. I mean, these funds in terms of dividends. The other thing that I've seen in this particular, in the particular arguments is the share price. I mean, I've seen some people say that this particular, I don't know what Honorable Kaluma would say, they agreed, but I mean, there are reports that it was selling at about 45 shillings about 5 years ago. Yes. I mean, why? And there are reports that actually Safaricom has expanded its market to Ethiopia. Yes. I mean, why would you sell it at a price that is lower
than
it was 5 years ago. And you know, you have to adjust for inflation. I mean, 45 shillings of 2021, because I've also studied something that we call the time value of money. I mean, today, 45 shillings, if you consider the time value of money, would translate to about 60 shillings. Why do you want to sell it at 34 shillings? And I think I've not seen any good argument, countering that particular one. Then, this money is, they're calling it the seed money, according to President Ruto, that will go to the infrastructure fund. And there are very many questions about the infrastructure fund. I mean, how do we control, with the draws from that particular one? Does the, control budget have powers? I don't know whether amendments were made to capture that particular one. I mean, who authorizes withdrawals and expenditure from this particular fund? I mean, the CS for Treasury is everywhere. The board everywhere is appointed by the CS, and the CS sits everywhere. And so we are not very comfortable, especially because public trust, again, on this government, about this government, as Senator Onyonka says, is wanting. And so when we see too much control by the CS Treasury, and we know whom he represents, then we are getting worried about this infrastructure fund, where the proceeds from the sale of these shares are going to be deposited. And then there is the issue of, with companies, your control depends on your ownership of shares. So if you have 50% and over, then basically you can load it over. I mean, because it will be about, I think voting is done on the strength of the shares that you have. And so when we bequeath this big natural resource to a foreign entity and, make it have a controlling interest, then there is a very big problem. And Senator Onyonka pointed to that. And he said, most of the Gen Zs that were killed by the police, actually, in 2024, 2025, were followed to their homes.
Using the phone.
And this was from Safaricom data. Now, because of course they were able to be traced using the Safaricom lines and that kind of thing. So if we allow a foreigner then to control such an important company, what are we saying about what this company can do and about people's data? I know of course there are laws governing data and that kind of thing. And the other thing that we are worried about is, you will say that is it Vodacom that is buying this. But could it be buying it? Could it be a proxy for somebody powerful in this country? And that is why it is being rushed the way you are saying. You're also shocked that this bill has been moved and debated and passed at a speed that is not ordinary in Kenya. It means, we have a right to think that there is somebody very powerful who has some personal interest or something, and pushing Parliament and every other organization and organ to push this particular matter to conclude, because we may need to know, is Vodacom really just Vodacom? Could it be a proxy to somebody? And finally, scandals, the biggest scandals, have very good promises. In fact, if you look at the Golden Bag scandal, whatever Patni presented to the president then, President Ruto, was something very, 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 very attractive, that we were going to, the country was going to earn a lot of money from gold and,
President Moi.
President Moi that time. Yes, so when you see these rosy images being presented to us about the beauty of selling Safaricom and that kind of thing, we must be very careful.
Questions.
These issues must be addressed. And I don't know now what we do, because I think it has been passed already.
Right. Well, I think so we can just finalize on it briefly. You can actually just clarify.
Let me clarify something. When Safaricom was established, the national government shareholding was 100%. Okay? Currently, the national government shareholding is 35%. It means 65% of the 100% shares we initially had have been sold. You remember during President Kibaki's time, he sold around 35%. And then the balance was sold by President Uhuru. And so Safaricom in the current arrangement is a private company. In fact, let me tell you, my brothers, because I sit in the committee. Vodacom currently has 40% of the Safaricom shares. The government has 35% of the shares. 25% is held by individuals. And when we talk about individuals, remember under the East African Treaty, those individual shareholders are everybody, including legal persons, companies, buying shares into Safaricom across the East African community. So it is not Kenyans. In fact, you remember when we were doing public participation in some hotel around here, my question to the Capital Markets Authority and Safaricom was the breakdown in terms of the ownership. The truth of the matter is that the real local Kenyan shareholding of Safaricom, if you bring Kenyan citizens and the national government, is below 49%. The others are East African community that makes us still a majority. That is a point we need to take. Number two, Safaricom is a listed company. It is listed in the Nairobi Securities Exchange, meaning their shares are open to trade. What do I mean? Nothing stops Vodacom even now from buying those shares from the 25% if floated there, piece by piece, and building to beyond the 50% majority. And so those are fears we need to look at. What I want to tell you, and I think we would want to agree with on this, we keep shouting there is mistrust in government. There is a problem. My brothers, I moved through this country in those areas I mentioned. We have built over time, and my brothers here will agree, a very unequal country. Dibal, do you know in northeastern Kenya, this power grade, that is this electrical power you see here, terminates in Garissa. There is no electrical power, hydroelectric power here. In Wajir, in Mandera, they have never seen it. That is the situation where we are. Very unequal country. You have regions where they have steam already. My brothers here travel. And Onyonka, I'm very happy with the point you are making. I can tell you, I'm just coming from Cardiff, my brother. You remember I told you when you invited me here? Yes. I was to use Qatar Airline. I was told there is a problem at Doha due to the Iran situation. Yes. It was changed by Parliament to Dubai, Emirates Airline. We were told Dubai was hit. And you remember even those planes from those other countries were now parking at JKIA. Ultimately, an opportunity arose for Kenya Airways. And I got into Kenya Airways when the team I was leading, because I was the leader of the delegation, including staff from the Speaker's office, were already there 1 week before. Do you know what happened? Because of the limitation of our space and the number of planes we have in Kenya Airways, we could not exploit that opportunity because now they were seeking flights going towards West Africa, then, going into Europe that way. Because going eastwards, because of that situation, could not arise. My brothers, what we have as Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
You're going to say it's a cowshed.
It's a cowshed.
Of course,
we cannot compete. We cannot compete. What I want to say is that moving through the country, they are saying we have one problem. Safaricom shares have been sold before. Several state assets have been sold before. Debts have been taken. But we cannot account for what the money did for the betterment of the people. These regions which have been discriminated and marginalized over time cannot wait. Dibal. SGR moves from Mombasa at the coast and ends somewhere in around Suswa.
But we need to find the root cause of the marginalization, because we trace it back to history with the session paper number 10.
Yes, that is the point I'm making. Yeah. Now, we are in a regime, and this is where I want to end it, Onyonka. Let us not, when we are privileged to be in leadership, let us give the public information that will, help them make decisions to make progresses. For the first time in this country, I can say we have a president who is equally distributing development. I've said here before that for the 5 years And then the 10 years I was under Kibaki, not an inch of road in Homa Bay. I can tell you, my brother, when you heard Ruto talking about Kotulo, Modogashe, Sijui what, and you were reciting poems. When I was in Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa, they are saying, go and sell those shares. Bring the money to complete this road. Because for the first time, they are seeing tarmac.
Thank you.
And so the point I'm making...
Yeah. Just follow us so that we can hear.
The point I'm making as I conclude is that to me, I think it is difficult for colleagues to accept because we are in the political space. But after 60 years, Kenya has a leadership at the top in the president who is bold, who is focused, who decides what is good for the country, and whatever the consequence, they follow it through. And that is why when proposals were made during public participation, we need a lot to anchor it. My brother, Senator Nyutu, all those fears you are addressing, look at that act. It is now an act. We've addressed all of them.
But
let us sell these shares.
Yes.
We ensure there is no corruption.
Thank you.
We ensure this money goes to infrastructure. We ensure that these regions which have been sleeping on the road when going home for Christmas can also go to the border in Malaba. And we ensure we unbottle these viable economic projects.
All right. Senator Onyonka, you want to just...
I just wanted to just say, it won't even take me 2 minutes. My brother Kaluma, by the way, we agree with you.
Thank you.
And that's what we tell, we tell these friends of government, we agree with them. We have no problem that our hardware is messed up. All right? We need roads, we need water, we need everything. What we are saying, some of us, is this, Dibal. Our software is so messed up right now that even if you brought the 10 trillion shillings, those roads will not be done. Given the way that those in government are behaving with the little trillions they've been having. Every single year for the last 3 years, we've been having a budget which is between 3 trillion and 3.5, close to 4 trillion. And logically, you look at recurrent expenditure and you look at what we are paying our military, the police, and everybody else, and you take that, I'll give them $1 trillion.
It's 1.47 trillion.
Thank you. I'll give you that.
Paying interest on debts is 1.17 trillion.
Hold on.
The collection is over.
Just hold on. Hold on. If the collection is over, why is it that we're being told, for example, through the e-payment system, 11 billion is being lost there, we cannot account? In other words, what I'm saying, Honorable Kaluma, and you belong to my party, ODM, surely we must be standing for integrity.
Yes.
And I know for you, because you're in broad-based, you cannot look at President Ruto and tell him, Kitu imeanza kuharibika. I understand that.
No, look at the law we have passed.
No, hold on. I understand. We are going to look at it.
You touch that money.
We are going to look at it. What we are saying, number two, Dibal, the fear I have is that our bad habits of justifying and legitimizing our bad actions now using historical injustices which have been created and look like we are righting a wrong. And our argument is 2 wrongs don't make a right. What we are saying is we have no problem with President Uhuru sold the shares. We want President Ruto, let him also sell the shares. But please, be transparent.
Yes.
Tell us what you're doing, how much money we are raising, like the issues which are being raised. You cannot sell Safaricom shares at 45 shillings. The market capitalization.
34 actually.
Yes. The market capitalization on Safaricom was at 109 shillings. So somebody is getting a discount from 40 to 109 of about 60 shillings. And these are the things, Honorable Kaluma, we want clarity on. Number two, every single time we've always had this argument, and I know it is a beautiful argument now because you're in government, and Northeastern Kenya is now being looked at as an area where obviously the government is going to change everything. The truth is Northeastern has been receiving money like any other place in Kenya, even in the small way that they were receiving the money. You've seen the stories that have come out. What has been the issue? The issue has been leadership. And what we are saying is, in a place where we have challenges of integrity and you have got challenges on the management of public resources, we are demanding that we must have structures in place to make sure that this money is utilized effectively. We are not mad people. But right now, the president has unaffected access to the consolidated fund, where that money will go to, and he can make a decision. And he will say, no, there must be a budget. Hold on. The president,
to the National Infrastructure Fund.
Hear me out. Why are you removing the money from the consolidated fund? Because the Public Finance Management Act stipulates that all government resources
should be in the consolidated,
fund.
Except under Article 206.
Wait.
Whereby law, Parliament establishes a separate fund.
Hold on.
And
Thank
so
you.
we say,
Thank you.
No, let me explain to you this, because you are raising an important issue. You see, Dibal, when money goes to the consolidated fund, then what is the first charge is payment of debts. The next thing that takes place in terms of payment is pensions and salaries, remuneration, personnel emoluments. You get it? And that is why when people said we want this thing to go actually to infrastructure, we stopped the matter. And remember, you were asking, why did we then pass the National Infrastructure Fund in a rush? We now created a fund into which that money goes away from these interferences.
Can I finish?
And if I could explain to you that are the issue of the value.
Can you finish?
No.
Yeah, I can finish. Can finish.
He has not answered my question. The question was very simple.
Yeah, why doesn't
this is government resources that are coming.
If it goes,
these resources are supposed to go to the fund, and we are demanding that this fund has no authority whatsoever. The money must go to the consolidated fund so that then remittances can leave the consolidated fund and go to the fund which they are creating for infrastructure. So that after that, hopefully, God will make members of parliament and the Senate to sit down and say, all this money that you are saying is going where? Can we sit down and look at the roads and the infrastructure you're doing? With the basic principle, constitutionally, being that in this case, there will be equity, there will be fairness, the money will be given to every county. The national government and the county government should sit and agree what's to be done. I completely agree that KERA can actually be cascaded down to the county governments. Kura, the same thing. All right, I hear my colleagues who are engineers complaining about, there's nothing.
Right.
The money is going to be managed from the county government.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, there's no contradiction in that. So my point is, and this is what I tell my brother, Paul Kaluma, you're a Catholic like me. We do not say the government is doing nothing. What we are saying is the government is doing everything the wrong way.
Just be transparent.
In other words, the basic fight we have is not that whatever president, and also in terms of prioritization, I've always raised this issue, and I'm sure you will agree with me. How many universities do we have? 34. Our students don't have hostels. Areas where people you've come and their public participation hearings, they say, we don't want houses here.
Thank you.
Why can't, for example, in Kisii, why can't the president build hostels for Kisii University?
That's what is happening now.
You see what I'm saying? So that the government can then charge the parents this money which the government is using to build those hostels, and once the government recovers those houses, the government can even sell their houses to people who want to buy hostels.
Let me come to Honorable Onyonka on this as well, because you're raising critical questions regarding the consolidation
and
fund,
all I wanted to
why it should actually be going to this particular pool.
Exactly.
Even as we're trying to consolidate our physical, critical consolidation path in terms of, making sure that we have a very strengthened physical consolidation path as it is. I wanted just to ask you, Honorable Onyonka, do you really have also ominous clouds of doubt regarding why we have, the National Infrastructure Act right now, that it should have gone straight to what Onyonka is saying, to the consolidation?
Well, I'm a very good listener, Dibal, and that's why you will never get me interrupting somebody when they are making their submissions. And I've listened to Honorable Kaluma, and he says that I think he explained that it's because if it goes to the consolidated fund, he says then the first charges will of course take away the money, and he was able to explain that. I think it's for the panel to then decide. So he says it would have been taken by debt and by those first charges, salaries and pensions and that kind of thing. But I wanted to say something about Honorable Kaluma's submissions. He said that already Vodacom owns 40%. And of course, he went ahead and said that, this is a listed company, and Vodacom could still buy from other Kenyans who... And
through the Nairobi Security Exchange.
Yes, but you see, when government aids Vodacom to gain a controlling interest, because if it has 40% now, and it buys 15%, then automatically it gets 55%. And it then gains a controlling interest. And I think that is something that we must be very careful about, that we must be very worried about. The other thing about listing, the shares being listed in Nairobi Stock Exchange, it's the same thing we are saying. Why then did we float these shares to see in the same, stock market, to see whether we would have been able to get maybe somebody who would have offered more than 34 shillings. That is something that Honorable Kaluma needs to explain to us, and I find him very knowledgeable about these matters, probably because he sits in the Finance Committee of the National Assembly. Exactly why did you decide to do it? What Senator Onyonka is saying, and I support him, is there was no transparency. Why did we discuss this particular sale with Vodacom instead of, floating these shares? I keep saying that, so that we could see the offers that we would have received, and then maybe at the end of the day, because Nairobi Stock Exchange operates just like any other market. I have a goat here that I'm selling. Dibal comes and offers, 2,000. Senator Onyonka comes, offers about 2,500. Honorable Kaluma comes, offers 1,500. Then I compare and I would say, I'll take Onyonka's offer because, he offered... why didn't we do this for these shares? Because these shares are listed in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And then Honorable Kaluma talked about, the issue of an unequal country. And I want to agree with him that no part of this country should be left behind. And I think that is why Senator Onyonka says, we agree with you, but the way you are addressing it is the issue. So first of all, you are not supposed to address the issue of an unequal country. There is that particular, I don't know whether it's an adage or a saying, that you do not strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. Because what we are saying is, and Senator Onyonka alluded to it, it is true that the northern part of Kenya has lagged behind for years. But we must ask ourselves, what has the leadership there done? Because this January, Dibali, if you allow me, there was that very big debate about national schools.
Indeed.
And although, people twisted it to show that the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua, my boss, is a tribalist. But he had a very important point that he was bringing on the table. And the thing was, most of the schools that government now is taking, especially from some regions, including where I come from, are schools that have been funded through CDF, through parents' efforts over the years. Then you come, take it, make it a national school, which is okay, and we have no problem with that. But then when you take a school in Murang'a, for example, you take a school called Kiagodo Boys in Murang'a, for example, make it a national school. You open it up to the whole of Kenya, which is okay, but you lock out now the locals. So this child coming from Northeastern, say from Wajir, for example, to come and join Kiagodo Boys in Murang'a High School, do they in Wajir have the leaders there constructed a school where a child also from Murang'a then can join? So that now, you weaken the strong in your attempt to strengthen the weak, because we must ask questions. So even as we address this matter of an unequal country, we must be very careful. And funds that have been allocated to some regions must be audited, and we see what has been happening. Otherwise, you cannot just continue saying, this region is behind, it doesn't have ABCD, we have to take all the funds there. Indeed. What about the funds that have been taken there? Can we account for those funds? The other thing that makes us, feel, because we are not opposed to especially selling assets that are not productive at all. I wish we sold Kenya Airways, which government has been forced over the years, by the way, not just under President Ruto's, reign. Over the years, we have been funding this particular company. Why not sell that? instead of a company like, of shares like Safaricom shares, which are earning us some revenue. And then wastage must be questioned. You cannot say, the Bible says that if you cannot be trusted with little, then we cannot trust you with more.
With much.
We have reports, and I think I would want Honorable Kaluma, my brother and friend, to respond to this matter. Where do you put, wastage of public resources? We know that State House was allocated, was it 7.7 billion for this, the current financial year. And we know they have already overspent that, and they're asking for 17 billion. And we know that this is happening because nobody has not seen, meetings, UDA meetings held at State House, where people are paid 10,000 Kenya shillings each. With everything, party yata and that kind of thing. That is wastage. So when you tell us you are selling assets to be able to finance infrastructure development, and we can see you wasting what we have already, why would we trust you that if you are not faithful with the 7.7 billion that we gave you? Why would we be very, I know you'll talk about the infrastructure fund and the rules governing it, but the issue of public trust will keep arising because we see, wastage of these funds.
Thank you.
And I think that is
we need to take a short break. Allow me, we want just to close up this particular topic. So, a small one?
A small point I want to raise. I wanted to say that...
Allow me just to take a short break.
Okay, that's fine.
Back, of course, we continue with that. And we want to also primarily look at what was happening today with the Linda Mwananchi report, saying that also the NADCO report, right, is all about lies. So we take a short break. When we circle back, we shall be continuing a bit with that and this particular report today by the Linda Mwananchi. Don't go away. Immersive, compelling, riveting discussion we're having here with Senator Richard Onyonka, Senator Kisii. Also, we have with us Honorable Peter Kaluma, who is a member of Parliament, Homa Bay Town, and Senator of Murang'a. This is Joe Nyotu. Yeah, so before we took a short break, hope you've not lost your track of...
No, I haven't. One of the things that when we went for the break and Honorable Kaluma brought it out is one of the issues that we have constantly been talking about in terms of why the money was not going to hit the consolidated fund first, and then after that it can go to this new fund which they've created. And I believe he has convinced me, even though we'll have to look at it, that there are amendments which have come in, including one of the issues that I actually had planned to ask a question on the floor of the House, and that is there was a clause in the agreement which was saying that the members, the Kenyans who are working for Safaricom, had a grace period of 3 years. After that, they would have to either take a handshake or retire or resign, that kind of thing. And that, Kaluma has told me that they have actually removed it. As I said, we are going to have a look at it. The second issue, Dibal, that I want to say without really wasting too much time on this, I want to mention to my brother Kaluma, what we want to look at as Kenyans is when we talk about historical injustice in certain areas. Sincerely speaking, I can give you an example. We are now having the railway coming down, and it's very exciting. For me, it's really something that is going to open that place. And yet, because I'm the Senator of Kisii and I have the experience and the discussion which have taken place, the railway line, you can imagine, Tibal, and even you, as my brother, if that railway line from Nyamira was to be let, it goes up to the Mwanza border. That, to me, is a game changer.
It'll be big.
It's a game changer. It brings all your things from Homa Bay, from Migori. The idea of putting trucks everywhere on the highways. Trucks will have their work, but you can imagine that that railway line will bring things all the way from Muhuru Bay, all from Sori, all those areas coming over to Kisii. Then that whole corridor is going to grow. Now, this for me is what I want President William Ruto to look at. That is how I see how transformative it becomes. But when you tell me you are doing exactly the same thing which was done, bring it all the way, bring it up to Londiani, Teremusha, Yende Kisumu, they're all the historical nonsense. And yet we now know, Dibal, that this railway could have been done cheaper. We know that that area is not more than 100 kilometers. If that is 100 kilometers, it will be cheaper. It will not take even 40 billion shillings. And it will generate revenue to pay back under PPP. I mean, these are the things which we are saying, that we don't, I don't want to criticize the government for doing projects in Nyanza, especially Luo Nyanza. But what I'm asking is that our colleagues who are now in the broad-based, can they protect my right to also feel like a Kenyan, receive these Kenyan benefits without being angry? That if the historical injustices have been there and we need to correct those, let us be genuine. Let us make sure that you talk to people correctly, understand what their worries and their fears. Because at the end of it all, we are talking about creating a state. And this interest must all be taken care of carefully and managed with expectation and public management, so that then the people now begin to say, our development is moving. Now we can see, we are like I'm mentioning, I can actually then, if we had a really line like that, and I'm using this hypothetically, imagine it comes, it picks me from Kisii, I'm in Nyamira all the way to Nakuru, in 2 hours, I'm in Nairobi. Some people would actually want to even travel and work that way. Because all over Europe, that's what people do. So what we are saying is, Honorable Kaluma, we expect, and I plead with you as colleagues of ours in the National Assembly, and our Honorable Nyotu will tell you the same thing. Kenyans don't want to fight anymore for what they deserve. Let the government just do it. Do it within the law. You see.
Thank you. We need to wind up on this particular topic. I think we've given it...
Dibal, there are some things that they raised with me.
Yes, we need to go also to the point.
Let me mention them very briefly. My brothers, these concerns you are raising is the reason as to why sale of any government assets was subjected by the Constitution and the law to approval by the National Assembly. Because you know the Senate represents the counties. The National Assembly represents the people and special interests. And so when we were dealing with this matter, we were not looking at it just as members of Parliament in the National Assembly, but as representatives of the people. These concerns you are raising are very legitimate. And if you looked at when we were hearing the relevant agencies, and we had all stakeholders at the Glee Hotel across here for 2 weeks, I was here not going to my house. And from Treasury to Central Bank of Kenya to Capital Markets Authority to NSC to Safaricom to the dealers to the employees to trade unions, very in-depth deliberation. And I want to thank TV 47 in particular for broadcasting most portions of those processes alive. And then we did that before going to the people, and I've said up to 30 counties. These concerns, if you are watching the proceedings, were being raised even by us and by Kenyans from all sectors. And these concerns, let me tell you, pick the National Infrastructure Fund Act. You'll find all of them addressed, including structure. We now have council, we have the board. Integrity issues, we've said, you touch this money or you find yourself in a situation of misappropriation, the punishment is not that ordinary punishment. And these were injected by us members of parliament as amendments. And so there are very detailed provisions. These concerns are valid, these concerns are addressed, and we have ring-fenced and secured this money for the National Infrastructure Fund.
Thank you.
2 is on valuation. You see, at the time this transaction was being entered into Onyonka, the Safaricom shares were trading at the Nairobi Securities Exchange at between 28 and 29 shillings. Okay? We were told by the various professionals coming from those, independent stakeholder groups, including the Office of the Auditor General, the Budget Controller and others came. And I got to know, though I don't have a financial background, there are about 4 models of valuing or putting value on shares of a company. Remember, we are not selling Safaricom, but shares.
The shares it did.
And all these were coming to different amounts, varying between 15 shillings and 32 shillings by that time. And so on all considerations, an agreement at 34 point something with those additional things of advance dividend payments were considerations which were to us as of that time a very good gain. I know there are the thoughts that why could we have offered it? Why did we not float it the way we did Kenya Pipeline Corporation? But did you see what happened with Kenya Pipeline Corporation? A portion of the shares were ring-fenced for the employees. Another portion for different stakeholders. Did the Kenyan stakeholders, match their bargain in terms of taking up the shares? No. I personally, Debal, bought Safaricom shares when they were trading at 43 shillings. We were the people who lost very heavily when it went to 22 shillings. You know what I mean? And so what I want us to tell Kenyans...
Down to 13 shillings.
Yes, to 13. Yes. And we were losing. But we stayed on. And of course, it has gone up. The value of shares per time will change and will keep fluctuating based on the circumstances. Like I can tell you, when people heard that Safaricom shares are being sold, I don't know whether you remember the dividends which were declared and how the price went up. Yeah, but we are talking of the time, and the reality is that today we may be selling them at 34. The reality is that they may go back even to 10%, but we must be in agreement that the nation...
I wanted to remind...
I will not go to Northeast and create a day.
We should. I wanted to tell him that argument is only valid up to the point where right now Safaricom is one of the largest companies in Eastern Central Africa. Safaricom is no longer a company that is on telephony, but is in the money market, and their turnover on a daily basis is close to 43 billion shillings. So Safaricom, you cannot see it at the value that it had started with, because by that time, it didn't even have the money telephony structure. So my argument is, I want somebody to show me another company in Kenya which is more popular than Safaricom, and let's see the shareholding and what this company was sold at.
Right.
Yes.
And if you're telling us that we're not selling Safaricom, we are selling the shares.
Absolutely.
Yes. It's actually essentially selling Safaricom.
Yeah.
Because the majority shareholder,
and Safaricom is the big...
is the one who will call the shots at the end of the day.
You are plunging too deep into law.
It's one of the biggest...
but isn't that the case?
Biggest money-holding, non-banking institutions in Eastern Central Africa.
Yeah, that is true. Those concerns were also raised in terms of our legal arrangement. But let me tell you.
But even in terms of... the question has been raised also, is the money, the M-Pesa.
Yes.
The M-Pesa bit of Safaricom. Is it a legal tender?
It is not.
It is not a legal tender.
It is a mobile money
yeah, but of course.
Secured under digital, economy regime.
Yes.
Yeah.
But of course, looking at the regularity, is Safaricom a bank or, what is it?
No, it's not.
No, yeah, that's what I'm asking
it's
you.
A financial,
These are questions
it's a financial transitory system or platform. It is not a bank.
It is not.
I know sometimes you hold money.
People,
which also has billions.
Can we get clarity?
Which also has billions in unclaimed assets.
Yeah.
People who've died and left their money in the system.
Yeah, a lot of it.
And Safaricom has never given us that money.
Yeah.
And that is why...
Because you'll agree with me, there's a lot of ambiguity.
I want to tell you, Dibal, that the beauty of this Safaricom, sale of shares is that we looked at all legal regime, because Safaricom is not your ordinary company. In Safaricom, you have the telephony part, which is what we started with. We have the mobile money transfer platform. And the digital. But most importantly, don't forget that Safaricom is the main platform for our democratic activities.
Exactly.
This is a platform for sending election results.
That's why I'm asking. This is where I was really coming.
Safaricom is a security platform, very big. You get what I'm talking about? And so we took into account the legal framework around all these issues, including data protection. And I can tell you, we are certified, and I can tell Kenyans confidently that the legal framework we have, regulatory framework.
We need to move on because of time. We need to move on because of time. But lastly, even as you're raising issues of Safaricom and the electoral process that is being used on this particular infrastructure, is Safaricom classified as a critical infrastructure?
It is.
It is classified as a critical infrastructure.
Security.
By think of its roles.
Security.
I can tell you, without Safaricom, we would be having very many security challenges.
That's what I'm asking. If it is classified as a critical infrastructure, Honorable Onyonka, don't we think also we're exposing ourselves by the sale of its shares as well at the end of the day? I'm just trying to get clarity on this.
We are
actually, that is the
shareholders.
point I raised. That's the point I raised. And I said that if we are ceding now control to a foreign entity, and of course, Safaricom then is a security, outfit also by dint of, controlling data. I mean, like Honorable Kaluma is saying, that including election results, will be done through that particular medium. So the concern then is when we give Vodacom, a foreign entity, control, because it will get
But we use Airtel.
Just let him finish.
We use Airtel, and it is completely foreign owned.
That's fine. So what we are saying,
so
these
the legal
are just
regime.
Concerns. And I think this debate has been very progressive because Honorable Kaluma is bringing information to Kenyans that maybe they did not have because there are these concerns, how they have been addressed. But he has not addressed that particular issue. And if we could be gracious enough to give him some time, because this is an important matter, even before we get into the next topic.
Yes, please.
It's important that he tells us where does he put security of, the issue of security that Safaricom provides when then a foreign entity controls about 55% and becomes the majority shareholder.
Yeah.
That is an issue that he needs to respond to because these are very valid concerns with Kenyans. Yeah. And when he brings light to this, then of course Kenyans...
You call the piper controls.
No, this one, Dibala, can be held to. Safaricom holds a lot of personal information, including our communication with our own spouses. Safaricom holds a lot of financial information. In terms of your transactions, if you want to know how much you earn, there's Kenya Revenue Authority and others just check your M-Pesa transactions today. Safaricom is for foiling, attacks to our security systems. In fact, without Safaricom, as indeed Airtel and other platforms, even the terrorism attacks we have in the country and which our officers, gallant officers, have been foiling, we would have had very many challenges locally. And I can tell you, therefore, that, handling this issue was a very special and personal issue to us as other Kenyans. We looked at the laws around data protection. Dibala, as we speak, the data you see we are dealing with through this phone, go to somewhere called the iCloud. Do you know who controls iCloud? the regime, both local and international, around data protection and abuses or violations of those laws and the consequences are extraterritorial and very firm. And these are analysis, you remember when we were at the Glee Hotel across here?
Yes.
Even the Data Protection Commissioner, we had to call her. And when we went through the body of laws, both local and international in the realm, we were satisfied now that is not a worry. Let me tell you that Safaricom is used to transmit election results. But so is Airtel, isn't it? And so is this other one, which has been slow, the national one.
SpaceLink.
Okay?
Yes.
They are used.
I am not aware of.
They are used.
What I'm saying is,
who owns Airtel?
Airtel
And remember,
by Tata.
IEBC after he has been contracting all of them so that we capture the whole country. Who owns Airtel?
Is
because of the legal regime and framework, the regulatory, laws around it, I can tell you they are satisfactory. No abuse can happen. And remember, I told you, if you were to fear that it is now that we are ceding control, then remember what I started with. Even as we speak, Safaricom is not a public entity. Safaricom is a private entity. And the local shareholding, if you are to look at Kenyans and the national government proper, is below 50%. It is already a foreign-owned thing. And I told you, these things, even at the level of government, if we make good money, we can buy back some from the NSC so that there is no worry. We secured all those concerns.
Okay.
I think that's...
We'll leave it at that.
There. We'll
leave it there. All right, thank you so much. So let's just discuss also the latest development, because the NADCO report is here, and we do have this particular report also from the Linda Mwananchi. We have, Governor Orengo calling the 10-point agenda a fraud. Let's just begin from there, because we have altercations from the Linda Mwananchi and the broad-based government together with Oburu Odinga and President Ruto. First of all, was the report meant to be launched on the 7th or on Tuesday, yesterday? Because now we have also that faction calling it an illegality. I don't know where the law is really coming into play on this, because as far as Edwin Sifuna is concerned, this memorandum of understanding between the broad-based government and ODM ended on the 7th. This extension, as we're talking right now, is not legal. Yeah, you want me to start, Onyonka? Because we just talked. Let's just. Thank you. Was it Honorable Nyuto your turn or no? Let's just begin from ODM members. Onyonka is a member of the ODM. Yeah. We'll come to you. The
I'm
okay.
Issue
okay.
About the ODM party, to me, they're really sad. Why do I say so? You see, ODM, if I sit to look through ODM, because I've been in ODM for more than 25 years.
Yes.
If you believe that...
Correction. ODM itself is not 25 years old.
No, I started with Raila from...
There is the Raila and ODM.
You just celebrated 20 years back.
Actually, I'm talking about...
20 years, yeah.
Yes,
ODM is Raila.
Yes, I was from 95-6. We were running around with Raila and because we loved him. We liked him a lot because of what he stood for. Then with this, it ended up... You see, I used to hear people debate very many times, either in public or when they're trying to either pass aspersions to Raila and everything. They say, ODM is like a religion, this religion of yours. The religion of us who are in ODM, and if you look very, very carefully, you'll see a trend on how many of us think and how many of us see Kenyan politics. And that was purely a product of the circumstance we found ourselves in. And the arguments that I see being made about ODM by those people who believe the government is right the party is right to make its own arrangements, they need power, and now is the time for the shoe to be on the other side. What we are saying is, we actually have no problem with ODM joining government. All we are saying, do it correctly. Are you with me?
Yes.
Let us be people of reasonableness, that we are able to ask ourselves, what is it under these circumstances would Raila have wished for? What do you think he would have thought about? What was his thinking?
Yes.
Are you with me? When issues of devolution are coming up and Raila is being given the credit, when issues of corruption and all these things, there was a basic minimum standard. And to me, this agreement that was signed between Raila and President William Ruto, when it was being signed, I didn't even know what to say about it. Because I had hoped that this would be the template we would most probably follow in trying to sort out the outstanding issues, because that was a critical time when the kids and the young generation was demonstrating. And if you look at Kenya's history, frequently such events take place. And when they take place, politicians have always captured that moment and brought in changes which are necessary to shift the country forward. The argument we are making, some of us, is this. Our colleagues who want to join government have decided that for them, things are okay now. That Kenya is a peaceful country. In fact, it's a country where the human rights situation is wonderful. And in fact, in Kenya, corruption maybe, if you think about it, it's because you don't know what you're talking about. And in fact, our equity, fairness, and the standards which we are looking at, and the openness and which the issue that we could share this nation, everything seems to be rolling back.
Yes.
And that rolling back is now where some of us are saying, do you want to go and join government? Yes. Just be gentlemen, my brother Kaluma. As I said earlier, you're somebody I highly respect. Let us sit and look at each other. You tell us what it is you think that is making you feel that it is absolutely necessary for you to join President Ruto in his coming elections. Listen to us who have been in ODM, and we have discussed these matters quietly, where we are saying, should ODM have a presidential candidate or not? Then after we have discussed all these things, Mheshimiwa Nyutu,
Yes.
I'd expected that the ODM biggies, the experienced people who are around Raila, those people who understood his politics, the politics of disenfranchisement, the way we have handled leadership for women, the way we've carried ourselves in terms of bringing fairness within, whether it is people going to university, the way we handle all these things which Raila had started talking about before he died. To us, those are the things that we needed to sit down and tell the government, out of these 10, which one can you do? These were proposals. And tell us, what have you done? If it's compensation for the children, for the leadership of the Gen Zs, who are supposed to be given money, that cannot be a controversial issue, is it, Dibal? It is not. The government just needed to come to Parliament and tell our brothers here, bring a special motion or a bill, and then bring this thing, let's have it discussed, rationalize, using government parameters, and agree what every person whose rights were violated is compensated. That's not controversial. There is an issue about the servers.
Yeah, we'll come to the servers.
We have historically had a constant in this republic. All the other elections always do well. But when it comes to the presidency, people want to kill each other. Shouldn't, if we are intelligent people and we are people who believe in the sustainability of this republic called Kenya, shouldn't we fix the problem of our elections? Shouldn't the president show and say, I'm showing magnanimity because I believe we must create a state. And statecraft is to give and take. It's for him to come and say, Raila thought this is how we were going to do it, but I think this is how we can. What do you people think?
Okay.
So that if we have received even 5 of these items, there is nobody who would say don't join the government. The other second issue, which you know is outstanding, is the fact if you look at 2007, when the coalition government was there, ODM doesn't have a coalition agreement. All right? So what are you now negotiating and you're discussing with President William Ruto, the things which you need to talk about, instead of these things being discussed and being engaged with all the ODM family, so that people can then say, yes, we think you people, you have an argument and it makes sense. And just like the way when Raila decided, Mheshimiwa Kaluma, you were there, you remember when we were at Capitol Hill, there were people who were saying, let's just get rid of William Ruto. But I saw Raila consult. He was talking to everybody. What do you feel? What do you think? It was mixing everybody. And finally said, but if you destroy the state, putting it back is going to be a problem. So let's not take the easy option. And what some of us are saying, joining government is wonderful. For those who believe that joining government is to go and make sure that you now receive the development which you have never received, and in fact now you are on the table and the food is being shared equitably, we have no problem with you on that. But can you listen to us who are saying, yes, let the government compensate you if that's what you believe the government is doing, but then you have some other 43 communities or 47, whatever they could be, who need somebody to carry them towards this thing we are calling about development in Kenya. And my belief is there is no political party that has held social democracy with its own challenges like ODM has held itself. So when you take this ideological thinking on how ODM was a social, human rights, law-abiding, God-fearing political party which is directing its members to a certain direction, then all of a sudden you turn the ship. Now you're saying, no, the government we were saying was not good, and you can paint 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, which in fact even Raila himself was having a problem with. You're now saying, no, now what we need is raw power. Well, now it's power, you know. We don't need, in fact, to discuss those things you're talking about, equity, the spirit of the Constitution. Those things don't mean anything. What you do, this is a system where the winner takes it all.
Thank you.
Once the winner takes it all, you then take it to your corner, and it is irrespective of what you think about everybody else.
Right, let me just come to Honorable Onyonka on this as well, because I wanted just to tease some of these items that have been challenged also by the Linda Mwananchi, first of all. But I would want to just hear from you, from your own assessment, especially when you're talking about compensation bill. There has been question on how the arrival of the 2 billion shillings on the compensation bill is concerned. How did they come up with this? What was the analysis that was done for them to come up with that one ballpark figure of 2 billion shillings?
Would you really know?
Yeah.
Or you should ask me that.
This is where we'll come to.
Get your time,
I'll ask you. Yeah, but that's what I said.
I mean,
his own assessment.
Dibal, looking at this report, and I was in another media house this morning, and I said, and I want to repeat it here, that looking at this report, you would think that it was actually just something crafted or a summary of presidential speeches during public holidays. In fact, I got very disappointed in the report, because if you go through it, you'll see that they're talking about even issues, I mean, achievements in quote that happened in 2022, 2023, 2023, 2024. Well, actually, it was supposed to be a report on the progress on the agreement that was made on the 7th of March last year. And we needed to see, you know, what the broad-based government has achieved in addressing the 10-point agenda. And these points, actually, this agenda was identified. The points were identified, and I would have expected a more, direct report and not generalities. Because if you look at, for example, Dibal, what you are raising, the issue of the 2 billion Kenya shillings. How did you come up with it? I mean, what are we doing to see to it that the victims have been identified? And I know that there is a committee that was formed that was, I think it is being, if I'm wrong, they'll correct me. I think it's Professor Makau Mutua who is leading it.
Yes.
And that he was being deputized by Faith Odhiambo, the immediate former president of LSK.
Yes.
And I don't know why she decided to actually quit. I think she found that whatever was being, sold out here about that particular committee was not exactly what was happening.
There was also mounting pressure from social media. Yes.
Yes, but why? Of course, there were reasons. But looking at this report, the first was the full implementation of NADCO report.
Yes.
I mean, and I think why NADCO came was, it came from the Sufuria, riots. And this was about the cost of living. has cost of living been addressed, especially between March 7th last year and yesterday when this particular report was given? And I think that is something I would want to hear Honorable Kaluma comment on. You know, when you talk, the second one was about inclusivity, and I want to be very fast through them. Can
I just read on, because I have the report here so that you can chime in on the inclusivity as well?
Yes.
Yeah, because it says, and my director might just pick it up in full, it says here, inclusivity. Inclusivity in all spheres of public life. Promoting inclusivity ensures that all Kenyans, regardless of gender, ethnicity, disability, and socio-economic status, can participate in and benefit from national development. Key achievements, this has been listed here: inclusion of marginalized committees, launch of a national policy of ethnic minorities and marginalized communities. This is 2025 to 2035. 500 million shillings. Scholarship programs for children from marginalized communities. 200 million shillings annually allocated for education infrastructure in marginalized areas. Creation of Directorate of Minorities and Marginalized Communities in the Executive Office of the President. Can I go to now the where it's being challenged by the Linda Mwananchi? Yeah, they're saying status finding, according to them, just so that you can come. 15 years after the promulgation of the Constitution, Parliament has failed to operationalize the two-thirds gender rule. NADCO's proposed solutions of the two-thirds principles remain largely unimplemented. This failure reflects political resistance rather than legal complexities, despite constitutional guarantees under Article 53 and 57. So that is what the rejoinder that we have from Mwananchi. You can continue.
Well, I think I really don't want to comment about these two-thirds gender rule, because it's a very complicated thing.
And we saw also Governor Mbarire also challenging.
If you may ask me, I think it's a very complicated thing, and I would rather reserve my comments because I don't exactly understand how you can, for example, say that in Kiambu town here, which is a constituency, that, for example, you say that no man, for example, will run for that particular seat because, again, that will have issues with the Bill of Rights. I mean, so I really don't know. I think the lawyer in the room, who happens to be Aluma, can comment about it. But allow me to restrict myself to the report.
Please,
and I think when you talk about inclusivity, it is true that there are those things that they are there on paper, on marginalized communities, opportunities for them, opportunities for women. But if I had time, I can give you names of people now heading parastatals and state departments from one particular community. And that is the community that William Ruto comes from. And but I don't want to go there for now. But if you may, I have it in the list, which one, who the particular person is, and that kind of thing. So, I mean, I'm very much opposed to people preaching preaching water and drinking wine. I think, again, when you look at inclusivity, because inclusivity should be, there's economic inclusivity, there should also be political inclusivity. Because it says in all spheres of life. So when, and I think I want to challenge my friend, Honorable Kaluma, when President Ruto says that, UDA and ODM have come together to unite the nation, I ask myself, which nation? ODM, which ODM? UDA, which UDA? Because as I sit here, I don't think I'm included in UDA. Although was initially UDA, and so many other people that were in UDA that are not there. There are so many people that were in ODM in 2022 and are not there. So you cannot tell us a lie and say that when you unite UDA and ODM that you have united Kenyans. You have just united two sections. Two parts. Not even parts. It's just two fractions of these parties. Because the UDA that Ruto leads is just a fraction of the UDA that went to the elections. The UDA that Oburu Odinga leads, which are the parties now coming together, is only a fraction of the original ODM. And so when you talk about inclusivity, for political inclusivity, for me, it is absent completely. Promoting and protecting the livelihoods of the youth. And they have listed many things, many funds. They have listed the Nyota, they have listed the Youth Enterprise Fund, they have listed the Kazi Maju for youths. But we also have questions about this. You know, when you tell us about Nyota funds, and if you are, for example, you know, bringing together 3 counties and you bring them to Tana River, for example, and the president flies there with his delegation. I mean, how much do we spend on? And we asked the CS Treasurer that question in the Senate last week, and he said, you know, the president is expending money from the allocation in State House. The allocation for State House is a public is public from, it's public resources. And we must ask ourselves, what in the first place does the president go to do? I mean, we transport him to a particular county to present these funds. And by the way, at the end of the day, they'll be still transferred to the youth electronically. I mean, that is wastage, which again comes against agenda point number 9, which was stopping wastage of public resources and promoting government efficiency. So we will ask those questions. When you talk about Kazi Maju, we hear now about Kenyans that were enlisted to join the Russian army without their knowledge. This government, seems not to have been aware about this. We continue hearing stories of our people being killed in Saudi and every other place. We must ask ourselves these questions. When you talk about the youth employed in the affordable housing program, there are questions also. How much are these youth earning? What is the cost of producing these particular jobs? Because there is that tax implication, because it's from the housing levy that is levied to people who may not even need these houses. So we must gauge and assess these gains against the cost. And there are so many other things. But allow me to say this, Dibal. The chapter on leadership and integrity, agenda number 6, leadership and integrity.
Hang on, before you even go there, because you've mentioned that particular list of the cabinet secretaries and the principal secretaries and even the head of parastatals, I just want to run you by it as well, so that you may tell us, as we're talking about inclusivity, and if my director may just pick up on it and we just run through it as well. Here it is, right? It may just get it in full. We have the Prime Cabinet Secretary there, and that is, of course, Foreign Affairs, Musalia Mudavadi, the way Cabinet Secretary, County Region Association, Vihiga, ethnicity, right, in front here, Luo. We have National Treasury and Economic Planning, John Birdie, Homo Bay, Luo.
No, Birdie is Suba. Remove that classification. Subas are Bantus, we are Nilots.
Okay.
Very wrong.
Okay.
What language does he speak?
No, Suba.
Okay, we have. Can I just go through the list, then you can challenge it? No, just a moment. Hang on.
They are entrenching discrimination of Luos.
He's a German.
But it's not the Luos who are listed here only. Can I just go through the list?
Let the ball go through.
Interior National Administration, Kipchuma Murkomen, Elgeyo Marakwet Kalenjin. We have Defense, so Ipantuya, Narok, Masai. Health, Edan Duale, Garissa, Somali. We have Education, Julius Ogamba, Kisii. We have Energy, of course, Opio Wandai, Siaya, Luo. Road and Transport, Davis, Chirchir, Kericho, Kalenjin, Lands, Housing and Urban Development, Alice Wahome, Moranga,
Kikuyu. Is Luya.
All right. well, you get the picture. You get the picture. What are you talking about?
Can I say something
to the end?
Before Honorable Kaluma comes in? Please.
Yeah, just finish. We'll come to you.
The point on leadership and integrity, first of all, is the shortest, if you have gone through it.
Yes.
It is actually about 3 sentences, because they did not want to touch on that, because it's lacking.
Yeah.
There is no leadership and integrity, and that's why they didn't want to talk about it. Because of course, the insults that have been there. When you are talking about leadership integrity, with a president who keeps telling people that they have no brains, a president who has a mind that erroneously informs him that God is very limited in his the store of brains in God's vineyard or whatever it is, that the only brains that remained by the time God was creating President Ruto, it was in short supply. So whatever remained was given to President Ruto. So the rest of us were not lucky because God is limited. We
You are
came
just
and found.
bound. You are done.
just a
we
moment.
came and found.
Honorable Nyutu, but also Rigathi Gachagua has
Elected
confirmed this
for us.
also in the DCP and of course your party. He says he admires also the brains in ODM because that is also lacking within DCP. And he said they have consummate lawyers. You lack the intellectual provenance. So you cannot also raise accusations.
No, I think it was.
and we have also your own.
I support you.
You support me on this. Yes.
I support you.
Yeah.
I think Rigathi Gachagua should not come in because he was not part. Just a minute. He was not part. We are discussing the 10-point agenda. This was entered into between ODM and UDA. So Rigathi Gachagua should not come in this particular issue.
I was just raising
I was
questions.
explaining to you why the point on leadership and integrity is very short. Because this was an assessment, remember, Dibal, on the progress made on these particular 10 points, the agenda that was captured in 10 points. And that is why I'm saying it was short because the leaders in this particular agreement have their issues. I mean, we were talking about Uburu, who is my colleague, and I do not want to discuss. All he wants now is power. I mean, this agenda does not even matter. That's why this leadership and integrity. That's why this leadership and integrity had to be very short. Because what do you say about Uhuru Odinga? That the leadership is power, and I mean, that is why it had to be this short. Then, one thing that is very important to mention. The right to peaceful assembly and compensation for victims of protests and riots. And that is agenda number 6. It is also very short because they do not want to account for the deaths that occurred. After this particular document was prepared, you know, we lost very many young people.
Yes.
In July, particularly, of last year. They did not want to address that. They did not want to address it in full again because of what they have been doing to, especially Rigathi Gachagua, whom now everybody wants to be devil. He cannot, on Sunday, just last Sunday, he was prevented by the police from accessing Kagam Methodist Church, where he had been invited, because Kithure Kindiki was also there, and Kithure Kindiki was very much afraid that if Rigathi Gachagua went there, then he would be celebrated, and Kithure Kindiki, of course, assumed by people. So they didn't want to talk about this freedom of assembly, and this is something. Yes.
Yeah. Let me just butt in so that at least you can get a rejoinder before we go to all the itemized,
He has spoken for 25 minutes. Man.
You are patronizing this debate.
Can you
and Onyonka are patronizing this debate.
No.
In fact, I've been very quiet.
Let me tell you, Honorable Nyutu, let me tell you what I'm really now extremely excited for. I want Honorable Kaluma to tell me how John Badi is Luo, and he happens to be a Suba, and how the Minister for Energy, my leader, my friend, Honorable Wandai, he's saying Wandai is Luya.
All right.
If we
open that Pandora's box, please,
Kaluma,
we'll also go back and say, Honorable, the right Honorable. The right Honorable. The right Honorable is a Luya.
Raila was a Luya.
Yes, so everybody's a Luya.
From the tree of Wanga.
Dibal, me I'm Luo, so
Dibal, by the way,
he's going to accuse me of being
is Luo, So Dibal.
Yes.
The matter of the 10-point agenda is too heavy. I don't know how long we have.
We've only around the 10 minutes to go, actually.
It's very heavy. If you look at the preamble of the Memorandum of Understanding, it was speaking to those issues which are destabilizing the state each time. And so these 10 issues were identified as issues which, if addressed, would settle us somewhere.
Thank you.
As my colleagues have rightly said, number one issue was implementation of the NADCO report.
Yes.
And the genesis of the NADCO has been explained by my brother here very well. It followed the cost of living protests, which you remember were led by Raila himself. So cost of living is a very big issue in terms of it being addressed. The state of the economy and the need for economic stability is a very big issue there. Number two is inclusivity. Number 3 in the agenda items was devolution, if I remember.
Yes.
We had issues of the youth.
Yes.
Because the youth bulge, I told you here last time, is a global issue. I attended the spring meeting of the World Bank and IMF, and they were saying by 2035 there would be 1.2 billion young people, well-skilled, well-trained, but without jobs.
In Africa.
The majority of them are in Africa because, of course, we have a very young population. And they warned that if we don't do anything about it, in terms of empowering the private sector to create job opportunities, it is going to be a curse and a problem. And so addressing the issue of the youth was a big concern to Raila, and it found itself there. Protection of fundamental rights, human rights and fundamental freedoms. It's a big issue if you know Raila very well. And I can tell you, Dibal, if there is one thing which unsettles the soul of Baba to date, it is the fact that, you know, the victims of human rights violation have not been compensated. I remember speaking with Baba up to the day before he traveled out of the country. And if there is one thing, he said, in fact, he was urging us at the Agile meeting to join the court case which had been taken to court by some people to, you know, stop the team that the president and Raila, you remember, had constituted, the Mutua team, from going on with compensation. And he told us, all lawyers in the team, please join that matter. Explain to the courts that if we don't compensate people now, they cannot get compensation from the courts, because you have to improve personal negligence on the part of, you know, whoever was holding the gun, which could have gone with lives. Like that girl, you remember, Irene Joki. You will not get compensation under the strictures of the law. And we wanted this thing to go back. Remember, violation of human rights, assassinations and abductions were birthed at our independence. We inherited them.
Yes.
Kungu Karumba crossed to Uganda here and disappeared completely. A guy, you find the place where he was detained for us to be independent in Kapenguri. I went there and I cried. Nobody cares to date where I went to. Remember the death of Pio Gamapinto across Westlands here, Tom Boya, Robert Ouko. You know the several people, even during post-election violence, the unfortunate one of 2007. Do you know there are communities who are called returnees? Like my community who were killed across Naivasha, Nakuru, even that guy who had vitiligo who was burnt all over.
Yes.
And who went with just, you know, the head of his wife.
Yes.
No compensation to date. And so this is a major issue. And Baba found space for it. There are the issues of debts, which I think is an item in the agenda there. And you
Number
remember
7.
when we started this debate, we were talking about how come we are collecting about 2.5 trillion. But after we pay, and remember, we are still dealing with interest on debts. We have not started repaying the principal. And we are doing 1.17 this year. Next year we will do more. You get what I'm talking about? And once you deal with pensions and P&E, personnel emoluments, I can tell you, if this administration was not ingenious, this country was listed among 6 countries in Africa which was facing debt default by the time President Ruto came in. And my brothers here will confirm to you that those other 5 countries in Africa have defaulted with very dire consequences. Only Kenya has escaped. And if you see the Moody's rating and other international credit rating firms now, they are saying the financial foundations of the country are now right. We just now need to begin taking money into the pockets of the people. And so you've had proposals, Onyonka, like how can we exempt bracket up to people who are in you know, the financial, you know, earning bracket up to 30,000 from debts? How can we reduce it going forward? It means the fundamentals are now fixed. We are now steady. We want the people to fill the economy, of course, and a whole lot of those issues.
Yes.
Let me say that when we met yesterday, initially we were to meet on 7th of March. 7th of March, because you remember the signing of this MOU was on 7th of March 2025.
Yes.
So it was to be an anniversary, kind of the signing of the MOU. There is nowhere in that MOU that it is stated, and I can give you a copy of it, that it has a lifespan of 1 year, and so it will end on 7th of March. 7th of March was a decision made by the leadership that really, because of how serious these things are, let us have that anniversary, and let us also to have it as a review. Now, we were not able to meet on 7th of March, if you remember, because we lost a member of parliament we were with from the 11th. And by the way, the best debater of the 11th parliament, which was a very divided parliament. But Joanna Ngeno, despite being on the governing side, would objectively stand on any issue.
Yes.
To the chagrin of even, the speaker who was leaning towards Jubilee then. And he's a guy who would speak and get accolade from, he was very uniquely open-minded and a very brave guy. You remember when his people were being attacked in Mao and across. And so we lost Ngeno, Joanna. And you remember 7th of March is the day we were laying
it is a burial day, yes,
to rest. So it was deferred, and we therefore met. Was it yesterday?
Yes.
Now, our meeting of yesterday, we said, let us not just go to celebrate, but let us also get a report in terms of where we are in terms of these issues. And this is the second time as a PG we were being updated. Remember the first PG, joint PG, was held at Karen. The one members walked from, very annoyed over some, integrity issues. And we left that way. Of course, integrity is also a consideration here. Time is short, but I can say that I'm very pleased where I sit with the commitment of this administration towards implementation of these issues. There are a number of these issues which my brothers here, maybe to just mention as I pass, something like devolution. Let us agree that the money after the MOU was moved to 415 billion, when in fact in the National Assembly some of us were insisting on 390-something. And with your support, you insisted. And remember, by that time, Raila and devolution were inseparable. He was saying it had to move to 450. We pushed it to 415 billion. By the end of last year, and the governors who were there confirmed in their majority that unlike before, where money which should be going to the counties were being delayed, being held over the years, even before we passed the County Allocation of Revenue Act, which they are the ones to pass, dividing, sharing money among the counties, monies had been cleared. And a bit of release is going on. The money has moved from 415, and in the current budget, by the way, we are proposing slightly over 450 billion, even in this narrow fiscal space. And I know, as usual, though that is already being proposed in the BPS, I know you are going to increase it. And if you are leaving the spirit of Raila, and you leave the spirit you saw Governor Nyong'o speak to yesterday.
Yes.
Remember, he acknowledged we are happy with the improvement of the fundings to the counties under devolution, and their releases, which can be improved upon, but we'll continue adding more.
Yes.
Make amendments and let us have more.
All right,
so
we need to wind up now.
In a nutshell,
yeah, we need to now wind up.
Let me say there are things like NADCO, all acts of parliaments which we needed to pass straight away as National Assembly, like the ones which were reconstituting IEBC, the Political Parties Act, the Electoral Offences Law, we dealt with them. There are some which are proceeding before the Senate. They have their own processes. And those are the ones, you remember in that report we were saying, we need an agreed mediation team that pre-negotiates so that we don't add all these things. Of course, some of the recommendations in NADCO, like what my brother was talking about, the Office of the Prime Minister, opposition leader, those J2 agenda rule. Those require constitutional amendments.
Indeed, I agree.
There.
I agree with you.
Amendments.
For the interest of time.
Yes. So there is good progress.
Yes.
There is good progress, and I want to thank President Ruto in a very special way for being bold. Kenyans have died before, especially on the issue of compensation. We are not budging because we want Baba's soul to rest. On devolution, we are not budging.
Thank you.
And I'm grateful that despite the hurdles we faced in court, these delays, by the way, he asked about how did we come to the money being proposed. Do you know, even before the court made that determination, Security Committee, IPOA had come before us with a list of people who have been injured since 2017.
All right, I need to
Kenya National
I know
Commission.
we can talk a good game about it, because I think if we now try and go through all the points, we'll actually be here until tomorrow.
So essentially,
we need to wind up.
Essentially, this requires a day of its own.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
There is progress, and I can confidently say to Kenyans that I'm happy with the commitment of especially President Ruto, more so after Baba left us, because he would have decided not to do anything, but he's very focused and is committed to addressing this issue.
All right.
Thank you.
Then we'll give our closing remarks just briefly, isn't it?
I will.
Yeah, thank you. And Honorable Nyutu.
I wanted to say this. You have noticed we have sat here, the three of us, and indeed, we frequently had political disagreements at our regions and stuff like that. You notice that everything Kaluma has said, I agree with him. Dibal, I agree with him. Now, what is becoming difficult, we are telling my brother Kaluma and other people who are on the other side, we're saying, why don't you look for time? Kaluma, you know you are my brother. You know where we've come from. You know you are the first one who introduced me to Jakoyo Midiu. You know, Kenyans have not seen the wars. Kenyans have not seen what it took for people to be where we are. And what some of us are feeling is that
Onyonka has changed.
ODM has, no, you have forgotten why we used to be in the Senate fighting to get Marende to be elected as the Speaker of the House. So that Kenyans don't kill each other. That we had to be in a coalition government, but Kibaki had to behave himself, which he did. I mean, we have seen when good government picks up its people. The argument we are making is there's so much unnecessary noise. Because all we need to do, and this is what we've been saying, President William Ruto should know, we don't hate him. What we are saying, the expectation of the Kenyan public are some of the things which he needs to do are so simple to do that we worry people who have got this wonderful brain, like my brother Kaluma, why they don't tell him that, Your Excellency, this one, wachana na you. Your Excellency, you do like this.
Thank you.
In fact, this one. So what we are saying is that they have gone completely to the right. But some of us have remained in the middle.
So you're telling, in a very nuanced way, you're telling also Kaluma that he's ditched his sanity at the parliament's door once he actually checked into
No,
the
sometimes there was a time I asked him, there's a time I asked him, I said, my brother, what happened to you? He said, nothing. I'm just a normal Kenyan
Dibala, have you seen a different Kaluma yet?
We need to wind up.
The only thing that shocked me.
I'm being hounded. Yeah, we need to go home. We need to go home.
You know what he told me? He said, no. He said, it's my time. It's my time on the table. Don't make the food fall down. You know, from that day, I've never recovered.
Thank you. Dibal,
we need to wind up.
I want to say that even as we wind up, I pray to God that He gives me another term in the Senate so that I can have the privilege that my brothers here have. I think Honorable Kaluma is doing his that term. Honorable Onyonka, I don't know what term, maybe fifth or something.
No, I'm running for governor.
No, I'm talking about the terms that you have done in Parliament.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, that's why they have patronized this debate. I was not able to say much, but anyway, they are ranking members. And there is respect for that.
No.
I can only say...
Give him his time.
I can only say that...
Me and you two are so close together.
That President
Kaluma has dumped me.
Okay.
President Ruto is lucky. You know, when if you marry a woman who has grown daughters and they start getting married and you're just receiving bride wealth for girls that are brought up, then you must be very lucky. So President Ruto is very lucky that he's getting brains like those of Kaluma, people who did not belong to him, having actually invested nothing. But I know he's investing heavily now for brains like this. But I must say that Honorable Kaluma, please, when maybe you get to a meeting again of those broad-based or blood-based or bread-based, whatever you call it, please let whoever it is know that it is not enough to just compensate the victims of this violence. We need to know, to address the issue, why in the first place did we have these riots? The reason for the riots. It needs to be addressed. Number two, we need to address, what has been done, apart from, other than, compensating these victims, what has been done about their justice? Because the perpetrators, the killers, the killer cops must be brought to book. So it is not enough to just compensate for a life lost. It's important that whoever actually terminated that life actually faces the law and the consequences.
Thank you.
So that is very important that next time maybe we get a debate like this, then we may want to hear the progress report from Honorable Kaluma. Otherwise, Thank you very much, Dibal, for this.
Thank you. We need to set a date when we'll have all these. I think, no.
You are discriminating me after they have scandalized my part.
No, we need to go. We need to go. Honorable John Yutu, Senator Muranga, thank you for coming through. Peter Kaluma, thank you for coming through. I really do appreciate Senator Onyonka. Thank you for coming through. Always a treat to host you guys. I've really enjoyed the conversation. I hope also you have enjoyed as well. A lot of transient discussion we've had on a raft of issues regarding the NADCO report as well. So let's do this next time. Thank you for your valued company. Have a restorative night and sleep serenely.